Do 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 do. That you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Bum, 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 bum. Good morning. Welcome all. Son of a man. That's just sad. That's bad news bears right there. Sad news bears. Fuck me. Oh well. This pipe is a problem. I gotta get a less round pipe. I gotta get like a pipe with a flat base that I can set down and it doesn't roll over. Good morning. How ya? I'm all right. How ya? I saw that pic of your cute dog on Twitter. He's so cute, I want to cry. I know. Oh, I know. I think he went in. I better go check, though. I'm 99% sure he went in with Amelia. But I'd better check. Make sure he's Dinor and his butt in here. Made me think of Dinor. All right, he's fine. He's a sleepy boy. He's a sleepy boy. Oh, goodness. It is still really cold today. Despite all this wonderful sunlight, it's fucking cold. I'm gonna log this fire up some more. Whee! So what's going on today? How are we doing? Tip top of the morning to you. Let you see the nature. Nah, this is my nature. Only I get to see it. Only me. You built a network appliance, huh? Well, that's nice. Pretty lame in San Antonio. So, dude, you could be in worse places, I'll tell you that much. I've lived in worse places than San An. San Antonio was pretty good to me, honestly. If I'm being real about it. It's a pretty good place. Not to smoke a corn cob bowl and get yourself ready for the day. That sounds about right. I'm about to do the same here. I've just got to get myself some material. I'm in need of materials. Green materials. Is that your morning routine? Go outside and light a fire. It's become my morning routine. I don't really feel right not coming out here in the mornings. So when I wake up, I come straight out here. And if it's cold, like it is every day, then I make a fire. And that's been my routine. I need to buy guns? Why? Why do I need to do that? Light a fire to signal the eve of destruction, yeah. Sending up smoke signals, trying to warn people. But for whatever reason, they don't believe that we're on the eve of destruction. How's that go? The Eastern world, it is exploding. Bodies crashing, bullets loading. Say you're against the war, then what's that gun you're toting? I can't remember the name. I can't remember all the lyrics. It's a great song, though. There'll be nothing to save with the world in a grave. You banned the lyrics, so nice try. How are we on the eve of the destruction? I mean, look around you, bro. Pay attention to what's happening. I love the train. The train is my my grounding in reality. It reminds me that I'm only living on the outskirts of one giant, unending metropolis. Reminds me that I'm not as far from people as I think I am. Which is both a good and a bad thing, I guess. But being out here and seeing how much I'm taking to, like, being out away from people, I think it's probably a good thing that I stay grounded in that. Keep one foot in the civilized world. The great fart of humanity, yeah. You gotta hear it. You gotta hear the great humanity's fart. better than a neighbor cranking up a lawnmower at 7 a.m. Yeah, if my neighbors, the few that there are, did that, I wouldn't hear it. So that's nice. I've never seen a steam locomotive. Those are pretty rare as far as I know, traveling the rails these days. Usually they only do so for like parades and shit. special events. Seen a few in Dublin. Oh, aye, laddie. They're in Dublin, Ireland. I'm actually buying me wedding ring from a jewelry shop in Dublin. Isn't that fun? I just got off the phone with the wee Irish gent that works there. I don't know if he's wee. I probably shouldn't call him wee until I know that he's wee. And I just got off the phone, and he's sending me my ring sizers. I've picked out my ring. He's going to custom make me a ring. I'll have to show it to you guys when I get it. It's probably going to be next month by the time I get it, though. You call everything we in Ireland? Oh, okay. Well, that's okay then. What is your ring made of? My ring is made of two-tone yellow, white, gold. Asbestos ring. An asbestos ring. Why do we care about marriage? I don't know. Why do we? Here's his black walnut and elk antler. Dude, I looked at a ton of rings, man. I didn't think it was going to be as hard for me. Amelia found hers way quicker than me. And hers is beautiful. And I thought, well, I'll just pick one out. And then I started looking, and I figured out, wow, I'm way pickier than I thought I was about this shit. And so I started looking all over the fucking place for rings. Different kinds of stuff. There was this metal that one of the places I was looking at that was offering, and I can't remember the name of it. It was just like random consonants dash number. It was like NCA 217, and I went and read about it, and it's like some kind of metal that they use in Japan for their spacecraft and shit. I was like, what? A spacecraft ring? So I have to be very careful with rings. When I was first married, I got a ring that was tungsten. And it was, tungsten rings are often colored with cobalt. Well, I have a cobalt skin allergy. And so I didn't know it at the time. But I put the ring on, and about 3 days after I started wearing the ring all the time, it started to itch. And I figured, oh, okay, I just need to take it off and clean it. And when I did, it was like there was a blister all around my finger, like all the way around my ring finger underneath the ring. It was like eating my finger. And so I let that heal, and then I put it back on, and it happened again. And I was like, okay, fuck this. And I went to the doctor. I went and got a bunch of allergy tests, and I found out I have a cobalt allergy. No, tungsten was great. Like here's the thing that I didn't like about tungsten, and why I didn't do like a tungsten ring again. Number one, they're often colored with cobalt, and that eats my fucking skin. Unfortunately. My old wedding ring, I used to have my ex-wife paint the inside of it with a clear coat of nail polish. And that was the only way to keep my ring from eating my finger. But the reason that I didn't get a tungsten ring this time, other than the cobalt thing, when I'm playing Guilty Gear Xrd, I don't even know how. Is it Xrd? At the moment, Paul, can you remind me how to do a backwards Hadouken? Yeah, it's a quarter circle backwards and then one of your inputs. Quarter circle away from your opponent, not towards. Okay, that's a quarter circle forward would be forwards Hadouken. But anyway, the reason I didn't get a tungsten ring is they don't break and you can't cut them. I actually found out from a guy after I got my ring, and I told him it was made out of tungsten. He was like, man, you better hope you're never in like a car accident or something. I was like, well, I hope I'm never in a car accident, but why? And he goes, well, it's like tungsten like doesn't break, and it can't be cut. And I was like, so? And he's like, well, if you like break your finger real bad and it swells up and they have to take your ring off, like they basically have to cut your finger off to get the ring off of you. Or if something happens and the ring gets crushed a little bit and it's crushing your finger, like they can't cut it off of you, they have to cut your finger off. And I was like, and I looked into this and it's true. So I was like, okay, when I started looking this time, I was like, no more tungsten. No tungsten for me. I had a titanium ring, but I sold it back for a gold one. I'm apparently allergic to titanium. Can happen, I guess. Tungsten is almost twice as heavy as lead. It was a heavy fucking ring, but I liked that. I liked that about it. Like, it felt like a really substantial ring. It was about a 9mm ring, I think, in width, and it really looked nice and chunky on my hand. I'm getting a 10mm ring this time around. I want a big, fat, stonking ring, you know what I mean? I want it to be visible from across the room. Ever grow shrooms? No, I've never grown shrooms. And even if I had grown shrooms, I wouldn't talk to you about it here. Don't ask me any stupid questions like that again, or I'll ban you. How's that? Wow, stupid questions. Gee, okay, bye. Well, let me help you out on your way out. Goodbye. Tried to grow a ghost pepper once, and it didn't grow. There was a dude in Louisiana whose house I went to once, and he had like a pepper garden on his back deck. Dude grew all the fucking crazy peppers. He had a chocolate boot jolokia. He had a Trinidad Moruga scorpion plant. He had like all the like ultra hot, like multi-million Scoville peppers. He was obsessed with it, and they were beautiful. Like, his whole deck was lined with pepper. He had like a jalapeno plant, a habanero plant, and then he started showing me all his ones. And I know a little bit about hot peppers because I'm not like a pepperhead, but yeah, he had reapers. He had Trinidad scorpions. He had boot jolokia, which is the ghost pepper, and he had a chocolate jolokia, which is a crossbreed, he was telling me, I think, between a ghost pepper and an Indian chocolate. I can't remember the name of the other pepper. Chocolate boot, yeah. Even the names sound like something that would burn your mouth. Yeah, I think they're designed that way. Oh, is it another one of those? Oh, I missed him. I heard him coming. I thought it was another train, and then it went by so fast. It was another one of those trucks that was fitted for the rails. You got to go to Jimmy Pickles for a real good isolated seeds. 7-pot bubblegum is one super hot, really good flavor. Yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna do like I'm not, like I said, I'm not a chili head, so I'm not really gonna be eating a Trinidad Maruga or anything. I'm not gonna be eating any of these super duper ultra hot pods or whatever. When I say I want to grow a pepper garden, I'd like to have jalapenos and habaneros growing in abundance out in my garden so that I can make salsa. I like heat, but I can't. I'm not like a. I don't want to sit and suffer for like 80,000 minutes. What's up, Rio? How's it going with you? Thank you for the $3. I appreciate it. Did I miss this one too, or did I read it? Yeah, I read it. We're good. Just making sure I'm not neglecting my super chats. Plant breeding is what you do. Cool. Wouldn't mind having a date tree. That's neat. Do you have white boy spice level? Do you or white boy spice level TJ have more tolerance to spice? I'm pretty sure that I could probably like out tolerate spice against both the Kirk brothers. One of the reasons that I know this is because I got some peppers to use in a Dank D&D episode that I did. Those of you that watched it might remember the Bomba peppers that I had the characters use. And I had a plate on it, and on that plate were jalapenos, habaneros, and serranos. Serranos are the hottest thing on that plate, if you don't know. And I can eat a serrano pepper and be fine. Scotty ate a serrano pepper and pretty much shut down for about a half hour of the episode. He was struggling. And so I'm pretty sure I could out-spice tolerate the Kirk brothers in a straight-up challenge, but that's probably because I grew up eating a lot more spicy food than they did. What's your favorite kind of cuisine? Probably like Mexican food, honestly. Mexican, Central American, and South American food tend to be my like favorite stuff that I try. My kind of like home-based foods. But a lot of that has to do with where I grew up. I grew up around a lot of really, really good, authentic Jalisco Mexican style, Baja Mexican style food. Other than that, I like really just, like, I guess you'd call it barbecue, but it's more like just American style meat and potatoes kind of cooking, you know? I like things that are grilled, charbroiled. Made with some really kind of like spicy and tangy sauces, barbecue sauces, etc. I like Mediterranean too. There are very few types of food that I've tried that I've really like not had any kind of appreciation for. Unfortunately, Asian foods tend to be highest on that list, and I'm not dogging on it. I know a lot of people love, you know, the different Asian cuisines, but I just don't really rock with most of them. Like, I like Thai food, and I like American Chinese type of food. When I say American Chinese, I mean like General Tso's chicken and orange chicken and broccoli beef and, you know, shrimp fried rice and that type of shit. Can't hang with sushi. So Japanese food and I really don't fucking mix well. Most Chinese food and I really don't mix well, especially if it's like a more authentic Chinese place. Like, the more authentic the Chinese is, the less likely I am to like it. Doing a Postmates order last night and delivered some Afghan food that smelled fucking amazing. I'm hoping to get some today. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've never lived in an area that had a high enough concentration of ambient, like, Middle Eastern heritage to have really good Middle Eastern food near me. The closest that I came was where I grew up. Where I grew up, there was actually a significant Middle Eastern, Indian, and Hmong population. And so I was exposed to like those types of cuisine a little bit. I really loved the Middle Eastern food that I was able to get my hands on. Mediterranean food as well. But yeah, Asian foods are the ones I tend to, at least out of what I've tried, I tend to have the least success finding something Asian that I really want to eat. No, I like falafel. Falafels are good. I don't need to replace them with hush puppies. Yeah, seafood and me don't get along all that well either, and I'm kind of sad about that because I see people enjoying meals that look really good. Like, I like the way that fish looks when it's cooked, you know? It looks tasty, but I can't get with the flavor of fish, man. I just can't. I like shellfish. I'll eat shellfish all day. Pretty much any kind of shellfish you throw in front of me, I'll go with. Yeah, I like squid. I've had squid and octopus before, and both are pretty okay. I mean, it's not like my go-to thing to eat, but oh yeah, I'll eat crab, I'll eat lobster. Like I said, any kind of shellfish you throw at me, I'll fucking destroy. But actual scales, fins, flippers, fish, nah. Nah, you can keep that for me. And see, a lot of people have their favorite fish and stuff. Like, people are saying shark is good, halibut is good, this is good, that is good. I've actually tried shark steak before, and I didn't like it. I've tried swordfish before, didn't like it. I've really, like, it's not for lack of trying, guys. I've tried catfish, I don't really like it. Salmon, I don't really like it. I don't know what to say. I have had sea urchin, but it was made into a dish. It was at a really fancy place that Scotty took me and TJ and Chelsea and Ashley at the time to when I first moved to Bellevue. He took us to this restaurant that was one of those places where, like, your meal is different every day when you go there, and it's like curated, and it's not really like a whole meal. It's the only restaurant I've ever eaten at that was like this. You've probably seen it in the movies, like the fancy schmancy kind of place where they bring you little small bites of a bunch of shit, and it just keeps coming. Like, it takes it a while to start because the chef gets started on your table, and then your it's like an endless kind of one bite appetizer kind of thing. But by the end of it, it's not tapas. It was more like modern French or something. It was actually, yeah, it was rich people stuff, honestly. Like, I've never, like I said, it wasn't dim sum. I'm not talking dim sum. This was a place that was like had a chef, and there was shit on the menu like like uzu or whatever, uzo, sea urchin. He had like a foaming sea urchin. Like, I can't remember what it was. It was like uzu, and it was in a shot glass with some kind of liqueur, and it was topped with I can't remember what it was. Some kind of foam, gastrique thing. I can't remember, dude. I'm not a big hoity-toity guy, but I'm telling you, I'm glad I had that experience. Like, had Scotty not taken me there, I probably never would go to a place like that ever in my life. But Scotty's that type of guy. He's, like, adventurous when it comes to that type of shit in a way that I'm not. And so, like, when the shit started coming out, I looked at it and I was like, oh, God, man. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but I tried everything, and everything I ate was good. And one of the things I know I had was sea urchin something or other. You know, I had little pieces of, like, duck and foie gras, and there was, like, a little plate. I wish I had taken, like, back in that day, I wasn't the type to take pictures of my food, you know. I'm still not. Like, you guys don't see me, like, out eating. Well, I don't go out to eat anymore anyway, but you don't, like, I don't order a pizza and take a picture of it for you guys all that often. Every once in a while, like, I'll make something and I'll post a picture of it, but I'm not a food vlogger, but I wish I had been that day. It would have been cool to, like, be able to remember what each of those, because it was something like 13 or 14 separate courses, and by the end of it I was full. Like, it was like you'd had a whole meal, but it was of all these little small bites of very different things, most of it shit that I'd never tried before, so it's pretty good. Sushi's not my favorite, but I've never had the authentic Japanese "we killed this fish specifically for you 5 seconds ago" experience. Yeah, I wouldn't even waste my, like, the poor fish's life on me, you know what I mean? Because I know I wouldn't like it. Like, I've tried sushi on numerous occasions. I've had sushi that doesn't have fish in it at all. I've had a couple of rolls that I thought were okay, but a lot of them are just, like, really, like, Americanized rolls, like deep fried rolls, or, like, you know, there's like one called a crunchy dragon roll that I used to get at a place every once in a blue moon, and it had no meat in it at all. Yeah, California roll or whatever. Like, I'll eat a piece of that or whatever, and it's okay, but I won't order a whole like, I can't just sit there and eat that type of shit. And I've tried, like, sashimi too. I've tried, like, well, salmon sashimi is the only one that I've tried, but I've tried sashimi. I didn't like that. I'm just not, you know what I mean? It's just ain't my thing, man. I get different strokes for different folks or whatever. I'm just not I can't do sushi. Sorry. Yeah, that really is a shame how many restaurants have kind of folded due to the pandemic. What you need, Paul, what you need is to get you some spicy pad ki mao, drunken noodles with beef, will not regret. What is that, though? Is that is that like a Japanese? That's not, pad ki mao sounds like Thai food, and if it's Thai, I probably will like it. I do like Thai food. Is pad ki mao Thai food, or is it Japanese food? It's Thai. If it's Thai, then that's 100%. I'll probably like it. Like, that's one of the very few exceptions. Like, I like a lot of Thai food. You lost 1 out of every 5 restaurants in Massachusetts, dude. It hit. I don't know how it hit the local area that I'm in now, because, to be quite frank with you, I'm so far from, well, I'm not far from the city, but, like, I'm so remote from it. Like, I don't go there unless I absolutely have to. So I don't know what was here before, what closed down, what's always been here. Like, being in a new area, you know, I really don't know how hard this was hit, but I can tell you, in Louisiana, a lot of fucking places that had been up and running for a long time shuttered up. Some of them for good, a lot of them for good. I mean, the restaurant culture in Louisiana, you got to imagine, is like in hyperdrive compared to most places. There's way more restaurants per capita in Louisiana than most other states, I'm pretty sure. If there's not, I'm shocked by that, because I feel like that there was, you know, 20 restaurants for every fucking 1,000 people or some shit. Redosta's, as far as I know, is still open. In fact, we had somebody come through the chat the other day. Now, it might have been a troll or something, but somebody came through the chat the other day and said they were in Nolans recently and slid through Redosta's and got their curbside pickup kind of service, and he loved the meal. So, As far as I know, like I said, that's some pretty thin gruel right there because it could have just been a troll. I don't know why you would troll by lying about going to a place that I recommended, but somebody slid through a few days ago and said, like, yeah, dude, hey, well, thanks for that Radosta's recommendation. It was pretty dope. I slid through or whatever. Only Applebee's and Olive Gardens. Yeah, that's the thing, dude, is like, this is a really, but here's the thing. Here's something you have to think about. There will be, again, because of this, a vibrant, locally owned restaurant movement again. Because of this kind of collapse, and I know it's very sad, a lot of family-owned restaurants went down. But that's going to create gaps in the market for people who aren't willing to just go to an Applebee's or a fucking Chili's or a fucking Red Robin. They want to try different types of food. They want to have a more curated experience or whatever. And so once this pandemic is somewhat under control and businesses can start operating at least at some kind of normal level again, here's what I'm telling you in a nutshell. Don't underestimate the ingenuity of people, especially in a country like America where entrepreneurship is worshipped. People will find a way to make food good. They'll come up with delivery things. There'll be taco trucks that are socially distant. People will start opening up fucking food services and food restaurants that are all about curbside, all about socially distant stuff. You'll be able to get the stuff. Don't worry. It's just like these little locally owned restaurants that had that turned no other business other than people that walked in and sat in their tiny little place. They had no way to do business. And they had no time to adapt to the complete crash of their businesses. It's totally fucking sad, but I got to tell you, that vacuum isn't going to be filled like a lot of doomsayers out there that I've heard with nothing but Applebee's and corporate fucking food. Yeah, a lot of those things are going to be staples for a while. It's going to take a while for, kind of people to figure out how it's done. And so you're right. There's going to be kind of a food dark ages here. Where actually, I'm saying there's going to be. We're in it. I mean, somebody came through and said 1 in 5 restaurants in their state or their area was lost. I've heard numbers higher than that. I've heard in rural towns that 2 out of every 3 locally owned eateries are disappearing in some places. That's just catastrophic, right? But at the back end of that is going to be a vacuum. Once the pandemic is over, there's going to be room for human ingenuity, and there are going to be entrepreneurs that are looking to fill that gap for people that don't want to just eat at Applebee's and McDonald's and Jack in the Box every fucking day. And when they do so, we're going to get some fucking bomb-ass food again. It might be different than the way it was. The old fucking like mom and pop sit down, kind of cramped, small hole-in-the-wall restaurant might not be the same. Well, I mean, it'll be soon in the grand scheme of things, but I mean, we're in the thick of this shit right now, guys. We can't fucking start looking at it like it's almost over or whatever, because it ain't. There's some good news on the horizon. There's 3 separate vaccines that look to be pretty effective. It looks like those are going to be available, but there are going to be a lot of people in this country that refuse to take them, and there's going to be economic barriers to people getting them for sure. So it's going to be a while before, we can even start letting our guard down a little bit, but there is no normal. There's no going back to normal. For us that live in this generation and the youngsters coming up behind us, it's going to be a different kind of place. I'm sorry. Like, I don't see how it, like, we may get some sense of quote unquote normalcy back. I'm not saying that it's going to be like lockdown forever or anything, but I'm just saying there are certain types of businesses that are going to have to figure out ways to do different. Big social gatherings are going to be iffy for a lot of people for a very long time, for good reason. Worst time to be young? Man, that's a profound fucking thing to say, and it's really sad to me. The kind of hope of America, right, is that as a generation we pass something better to the children that come after, the youngsters, like I said, that come up behind us. Whether we have our own or not, that we don't leave the world in a worse spot. Man, we are fucking not living up to that at all. The poor kids right now that are living through this shit, not able to go outside, not able to play with their friends and stuff. It's fucking horrible. I mean, the Cold War still rages, my friend. The people that tell you that the Cold War stopped, the Cold War went on pause when the Soviet Union collapsed. And then when Russia took its place, the Cold War started right back up again. I mean, you're naming other bad times in human history. I'm not saying that we're leaving a worse world than that. I'm saying we're leaving a worse world than I was born into. We're leaving a world with fewer species, less natural places, less green spaces, less natural biomes functioning properly, more plastic in the ocean than you can fucking even imagine, more pollution in the skies than is even believable. Like I said, the little place that I was born, when I was there as a kid, I used to be able to see the Sierra Nevada mountains. When I visited there a year and a half ago, it was so smoggy I couldn't even tell there were mountains near it. You used to be able to see the snow-capped Sierras year-round where I grew up, and now you can't see shit year-round where I grew up, as far as I know. My mom, when I call her every once in a while, she'll say the mountains came out. And I know what that means. That means, oh, it was nice. The smog, some wind came up and blew away enough smog that I could see that we live near mountains again. Bakersfield, yeah, I mean, that's not far from where I grew up, so I can imagine. You guys are a little closer to like the Tehachapi shit, so you guys can see that at least, but that's, that's like the foothills into the high desert shit. You're talking about not being able to see the Sierras, not being able to see the coastals. Do I see the stars now? Actually, yeah. A few very faint little stars still visible, but the sun is pretty up. Got a little faint starage. Very faint, though. Oh, Paul, I too am a massive pessimist. It makes people really not like me. Is it worth it to be fake and cheery just to please people? I mean, that's up to you. I think you know my answer, but that's my personal answer, right? I would rather be surrounded by people who accept me for how I am. And, I don't ask for the people in my life to agree with me, but, I do ask that they, listen to me as I listen to them. So, I mean, fuck anybody that would, in my life, that doesn't want to be around me because of my outlook and shit. Like, I don't force myself into people's lives. Like, if you don't want to be near me, trust me, you ain't gonna hear from me. And I'm gonna be fine with it. Living around mountains is surreal, and it's when they come out, they're beautiful. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, man, like that was just my childhood. And I'm talking like every day, unless it was a real stormy day or something, right? Like on stormy, real bad weather, inclement weather type of days, or foggy days, of course, you couldn't see the mountains. But I'm talking about on your average Joe day where I grew up. You could see the fucking mountains every day. No, I grew up in the Central Valley of California. Which is a place that is sandwiched by two mountain ranges, the Sierra Nevadas to the east and the California Coastal Range to the west, both of which used to be visible every day from where I was born. I want to move to Vermont for the mountains. Massachusetts is mostly hills. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm liking this mountain environment. I don't know if it's where I'll end up staying, but I'm definitely enjoying my time here. It's definitely been a place that's been 2 scoops of peace for me, for the most part, which I really needed. When was the last time you had a fist fight? I got in a fist fight in the... I want to say it was 4th grade. That was the last time I got in a fist fight. I don't do fights. Now, I've been involved in fights where I had friends who were going at it, broke it up, you know, got in there, got punched in the head accidentally because I was trying to get in between 2 people that were trying to fight. The football fan, yeah. I think that was the last fist fight I was ever in. Unless I'm misremembering one, but I don't think I am, honestly. I'm not a fighter, dude. I don't do fist fights. It just doesn't come to that with me. Like, if you come at me with that intent, or with the intent to hurt somebody that I love, then I'll come at you, I guess. But I'm the type of guy that'll de-escalate. Like, I don't have this, like, macho need to, like, I don't have this macho shit. I probably have a little bit of it, but not enough of it to make me want to go beat somebody's ass or whatever to prove what a big dude I am. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a de-escalator. I'm a natural negotiator. You know, I actually think I'm pretty good at de-escalation between other people, but I'm also a hothead when it comes to shit. And so people get pissed, they threaten violence and shit, and I'm not that type. I'm never the guy that's gonna be like, I want to beat your fucking ass or whatever. I don't let my mouth write checks that my ass can't cash, as my dad would say. I don't know. I seen you react pretty angry. I remember you said you almost fought Ben. I almost did, yeah, but an almost fight is not a fight. Me and Ben almost got into it a couple of times during my tenure with the Drunken Peasants. I'd say like 3 times we were close to blows, but it didn't come to that, and I'm glad it didn't come to that for both of us, you know what I mean? I'm glad I didn't get hurt. I'm glad he didn't get hurt. I'm glad that it didn't, you know, that we were able to resolve whatever differences we had with words or whatever the fuck. Who would have won? You got me, dude. I'm not a big braggadocious guy. I'm a big dude, right? And he's not as big a dude. What was it, over? One of them was overs. It was over the stupidest shit. Like, I'll tell you all 3 of them. Like, I think I've told this. I think we talked about them on DP, but if we haven't, fuck it. I was part and parcel. So the first time that Ben and I almost came to blows was at a really expensive steak place in Bellevue, Washington. This was once again within like weeks of me moving there. And the guys were celebrating, I can't remember it was somebody's birthday, I think. I think it was TJ's birthday, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be fucking totally mistaken about that. Anyway, there was some occasion. And they took me to some fucking Swanky Steakhouse. I can't remember the name of it. If somebody looked up Swanky Bellevue Steakhouses and told me the name of them, I'd probably be able to tell you which one it was. Expensive place, right? Definitely a place that at that time was way too rich for my blood. I wouldn't have been able to afford to live there, to afford to eat there, really, on my own. Not a place I would have gone if I had not been invited as a guest. So it was a kind thing that they were doing, and I felt a little out of place because we walked into this place and it was very upscale, but we just waltzed in looking like I look now, you know what I mean, like stoners. Like, I didn't know what kind of joint we were going to, and TJ was dressed just like TJ's always dressed, in a big flannel with a beanie on, and Ben was dressed like he always dressed, you know what I mean? Scotty was in a t-shirt and jeans and shit. El Gaucho, exactly, that was the one. That's the one. I remembered it was some kind of fucking, Spanish name, but I couldn't remember what it was. It's El Gaucho, that's where we went. So we get a table at El Gaucho. They order some wine. We start drinking. I mean, there were several bottles of wine drunk around the table. Maybe not several, like 2 or 3, right? And we're big guys, so whatever. I'm a little tipsy. Everybody at the table's a little tipsy. Steak comes. And I don't remember how it came up, but, you know, I must have said something. I said something about people being out in the sun and how, like, people that burn all the time being out in the sun, like, eventually you get a tan. And as I remember it, now you got to remember this is like years and years ago, but as I remember it, Ben said some shit like, no, some people don't tan at all. And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, people that are like, have pigment diseases and stuff, and like people that are albinos or have alopecia or whatever, like they have pigmentation disease or some kind of maladaptation of skin pigment, then yeah, of course, like an albino doesn't tan. And he was like, no, I'm not talking about albinos. And he pulls out his phone, right? And he hands me his phone. And I'm looking at it, and it's a picture of the wrestler Sheamus. And you can look him up. A very, very pale white guy, right? Super fucking pale. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, okay. And I said, so what does this mean? That Sheamus won't tan? He's like, yeah. Sheamus won't tan. And I was like, well, I disagree. I mean, I think if Sheamus was out in the sun enough, that Sheamus would be darker than he is. And yeah, you might not keep the tan, but like everybody tans a little bit in the fucking sun if you're out in it enough. Like, you might just burn at first, which sucks. You're not supposed to let your body do that. But if you're out working in the fucking sun all day, every day, and you live in a really, really sunny place, you're gonna fucking tan unless you have some kind of, you know what I mean, as a white. So anyway, that's what the argument was about, right? And so that just kind of escalated. Like, I wanted to stop at some point. Got a train. Toot, toot. So I had told, this is germane to the discussion. Well, I'm not going to tell that part of the story. Never mind. I'm being very careful when I tell these stories because I don't want people to think I'm talking shit. This is a disagreement between two people or whatever. I've got my position on it and he's got his, and I'm sure he remembers it differently. So keep in mind one side of a two-sided story and all that shit. Suffice it to say, that went on for a while, and I finally got to the point where I was like, all right, fuck it, dude. Like, look, we're not going to agree. It's cool. whatever, let's just drop it. And he wouldn't. Like, he kept, like, bringing it up. He kept coming up. And I got more and more angry. So at one point, I just got up from the table. I went to the bathroom. I didn't even really have to go to the bathroom. I just went to cool off, to get away from the fucking table. Because I didn't know what to do at that point. He was like my boss. We're at this nice-ass place having an argument. It's like, I'm trying to do everything I know to, like, okay, dude, whatever, you're right. But, you know, like I said, there was drinking going on. So that may have been a factor. But anyway, we got up to leave. I came back from the bathroom, and when I came back, people, you know, they were paying the check and shit, and we were getting up to leave. And so I grabbed, you know, my crap off the table, my phone or whatever, put it in my pocket, and I just started walking out of the place. And I was kind of ahead of everybody. I was the first one to walk out of the place. And Ben he ended up like zooming in right behind me and started talking again. And at this point, I was done. Like, I was going home. I wanted to be apart from him. And I'd asked several times for the conversation to be over, like, just for the sake of the other people at the table and shit. Like, I'm very socially aware, and so I knew that, like, long ago, Scotty and TJ stopped having a good time sitting and listening to this, and were just like being really, you know, it was uncomfortable, is what I'm saying, socially. Not only that, but I was pissed off because of the constant, like, I was trying to, like, all right, dude, yeah, you're right. We're done. Oh, now you're just saying I'm right because you don't want to fucking have the... It was that type of shit, right? It was like, oh. And so we're walking out of this place, and it's a pretty big place. We were kind of in the back corner up near there's this big long row of windows at El Gaucho that look out over Bellevue. And we were kind of in the back corner of the restaurant up against those windows in a nice spot. And so it took a while to walk out, and he's just the whole way, you know, just keeping on with it. And I'm just ignoring. And finally, like, he keeps getting closer to me, and, like, he's, like, right behind me, you know, just like, and I fucking wheeled around on him, and I said, you need to shut the fuck up. And he said, don't tell me what to do. And I turned around and left, but he did shut the fuck up. That was the last words that he said, was, don't tell me what to do. So I was close to, like, if he had swung on me there, we'd have done the man dance at El Gaucho, and it would have been a fucking news story, probably. Local podcasters have drunken row at upscale Bellevue Eatery El Gaucho. Probably would have been funny. Local obscure right-wing podcasters reportedly got into a knockdown, drag-out fistfight at upscale Bellevue Steakhouse El Gaucho last night. Details on the fight are sketchy, but people who were present did say they heard the word ginger several times, prompting speculation that one of the men involved was indeed a ginger and was offended. You are a tough guy. See, I mean, I'm not really, but, like, I was done, so I told him to shut the fuck up, and he shut the fuck up. And that's all I really care about. Round two was, and this one I remember less detail about this one, to be honest with you. This was around the time of my Mortal Kombat meltdown. You guys remember that? I left my vape at TJ's house, nicotine fit so I can run my mouth situation. You guys remember that? I'm sure you guys remember that. Anyway, it was around, I remember it happened around that time, yeah. I've been doing a backward Hadouken since 1992. Yeah. The Mortal Kombat meltdown. The classic. So it happened around that time. But it was like later. It was weeks after that, right? It wasn't about that. It was weeks after that. But I remember it being around that time. So it might have had something to do with that. That got brought up again. Some aspect of that got brought up that we disagreed on how it went down or whatever the fuck. I know it was close enough to that incident that might have been the case, and I seem to remember it being about something about. See, this is why I don't want to speculate on what it was about, because I seem to remember it being something about the controller that I was using to play him, but like I said, I don't remember what this one was about. This one happened when me and Scotty and Ben, all three, went to go see a movie. Once again, I don't even remember what movie we saw. I was pretty high. It was Bellevue. You know, what are you gonna do? We went and saw a movie. We were leaving the movie and walking back to the studio, and me and Ben were going at it just verbally. But you know, I'm an argumentative guy. Like, I won't back down in a verbal argument. I'm just not the kind of guy that's gonna start swinging fists on you and shit. And this time it was him that wheeled around on me. And he said something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing here, something to the effect of, I want to fucking punch you in the face so bad, or I really fucking want to punch you right now in the face. And, you know, we were on the sidewalk in Bellevue, Washington, and it was nighttime, but it wasn't like late at night. You know, and there were people around and shit. Scotty's there. And, you know, Ben, he wheels around and says, you know, I want to punch you in the fucking face, something like that. And I said, do it. And he didn't. He turned around and walked, and he started walking real fast, so he got way out ahead of me, and that was the end of that. Like, I don't think we ever even resolved that or came to a conclusion about why that happened or whatever, or got to the root of that. And then the third time was when he got super blitzed on a show, and he started trolling me with piss stuff, and then said he was going to go pee in a cup. And he grabbed a red Solo cup and went in the bathroom and peed in it. And then came and was like swirling it around over me and putting it over my head. And like, you can go watch the episode it happened on. I think it's still up. It may not be. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know which episodes have been left up and which have been taken down and all of that stuff since, you know, the kind of split. But, yeah, at some point he like sat on my lap, right? So that he could get his piss closer to me. So he sits down on my lap, and he's putting his piss like all in my face. And I just started like moving like this to get him up. I was like, dude, get off me. You're going to spill your piss on me. And at some point, that's exactly what happened. He was like shifting his weight, and it sloshed and hit my fucking leg. And he started laughing his ass off, and he got up and set the piss down, and I shoved him like pretty hard. And that studio, it's hard to describe it to somebody that wasn't there. It was very small space that we shot in. And so it basically shoved him from where I was sitting at the end of the table up against the opposite wall, or towards the opposite wall. And if he'd have jumped up and fucking came at me, we would have went. You know what I mean? Like, I was pissed that I had somebody's piss on me. So that was that was round 3, and that was the final round that we went. The final row, or almost row, that Ben and I had. Those are the times that I would say we were probably pretty close to coming to blows. I'm really surprised you didn't punch him. That's some good self-control. I don't punch people, dude. If somebody comes at me, I'll punch them. But I'm not an aggressive guy. I don't have that fucking desire in me. I never want to have anything go there. I'm much more likely to just either try and de-escalate or remove myself from a situation than to fight. If somebody is spoiling for a fight with me and I can't talk it out with them, whether it's due to them being drunk or just being irrational or whatever it is, then I'm much more likely to just go find elsewhere to be. You know, it ain't worth doing a 10-year bid or whatever the fuck for accidentally hurting somebody or going to the drunk tank or whatever the fuck else would happen to you in a fight, you know. Personal lawsuit or whatever the fuck, you know. It's just bullshit. Things don't get solved that way, you know. That's one of the things that my parents instilled in me. And so I'm glad of that. Because I'm just not that kind of person. I just don't go there. Paul should accidentally kill someone and be Nick Cage in Con Air. Yeah. It was self-defense. But I got a bid anyway. I did my time going home to see my family. Oh, Con Air. You so crazy. So what happened after? Like it never happened type thing? I don't know, man. There would be times when me and Ben were really cool. Like, I gotta be honest with you, I was very confused. I don't know what was going on. I'm not saying I didn't play my role in it or whatever. You ever just, and this is just the truth, some personalities don't mix, right? There doesn't necessarily have to be someone at fault. It's just like some people are like oil and water. And sometimes that can be a good dynamic. And I think it really was on the show. Sometimes the tension between me and Ben fed my performance on the show in a good way. Pushed me to be better. And maybe that's what he was trying to do with it. I don't know. You know, you'd have to talk to him about it. Like I said, he probably feels very differently about this. And I'm not trying to put, this is my perspective on a two-person thing. But I never really understood what it was with Ben. You know, he and I seemed to get along really well, sometimes really, really well. Like, there was one time in particular I remember that we just went out as friends. We went to a P-Lander Z concert at the venue, the Fun House, which ended up being the venue for the Seattle meetup of DP. We went and saw P-Lander Z together, and before that we just kind of on foot, we went to this German restaurant that he really liked in Seattle, got a beer and some bratwursts and just kind of fucking chilled. And dude, that whole day was just so cool with him. And it felt really good. You know, it felt like really nice to... And then we had other times like that. Like, Ben and I spent a lot of time together. I was the guy that set up the show, especially once I got to Bellevue. I was the guy that set up the show and pulled all the videos and stuff and got the show ready to go for months and months and months and months. So I would be at the studio 2-3 hours, maybe even more, before everybody else showed up. And Ben had a habit of coming to the studio early because it was his job to do that before. And it was something that I took off of his plate. But he, you know, because he still had to do his shit before the show went live. Like, he had to still double check everything. But it was my job to get it ready to go. And so Ben and I would spend a lot of time together. He would show up, you know, like an hour before the guys would, and we would talk. And there were some days where it felt like, you know, hey, we really got along. We had a lot in common when it came to music. And he actually introduced me to a lot of music that I really like. We had like that kind of like cross appeal taste. And he was into different shit than I was in. I never really felt like he was very receptive to the bands that I passed back his way, but that's a taste thing, you know. He introduced me to, not introduced me to, but he gave me an appreciation for NoFX and in particular, Fat Mike, um, as a personality. You know, I still carry that appreciation because of Ben. And so we had this, we had a good vibe going on. Some people don't. Yeah, you're right. Some people just don't vibe, I guess. But we did. That's the thing, is like there were times where Ben and I vibed, I thought, really well. We had similar, like, upbringings. You know, we came up, we're of similar age, so we came up in the same era. We liked a lot of the same shit as kids. We played a lot of the same video games and stuff. We had enough in common there. We were both working people for most of our lives, and we had that in common as well. Both of us very thankful to be working in the podcasting industry after having worked really shitty, soul-crushing jobs. We had a lot in common. We were on a show together. We were personalities on a show together. There's a lot of commonality that grows between people like that. And so why Ben and I could never get our shit together and really get along for a long period of time, I don't know whose fault it was. I really don't think it was anybody's fault. Like, honestly, I take my 50% of the blame and I put 50% on him. I think we were just, two personalities that didn't mix all that well. I mean, sometimes we'd get along, yeah, sometimes, but most of the time, not really, And, whatever. Bear the dude no ill will, and I hope he feels the same of me. I hope I didn't engender some kind of, like, eternal hatred in the fucking guy. I have a feeling he'd say a lot of the same shit, in his own way. But, I'm thankful to Ben. And that's why, like, when people come in here negging DP in its current form, or Billy, or Ben, or any of the kind of adjunct personalities that are on that show, or want me to dog that show, or shit talk that show, or talk about how many views that show is getting versus how it was doing when I was on it, or blah, just all the shit. It's like, I don't want to do that, guys, ultimately, because no matter what my differences with Ben were when we worked together as dudes, as men, he was the guy that got me noticed on that show. Like, that's a piece of DP lore that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people assume that it was TJ that got me on that show. Ben was the one that suggested me as a guest. Ben had been watching my early proto-Highdeologies, like what I'm doing right now. I used to call them stick ham and beer back in the day, where I would open up a stick ham room and I'd do a stream from my shitty little laptop, and we would I'd stream it on YouTube, and I'd have a room full of fucking people, and he liked what he saw, and he thought, he said, hey, didn't you and this guy, do videos back and forth back in the day? And TJ didn't want to have me on because he thought I wouldn't want to come on. He was like, no, don't bother Paul with this shit. Paul don't care about this shit. But Ben reached out to me anyway. TJ happened to have my phone number from back in the day because we were going to do a charity thing together that ended up falling through. It was we were going to do I was trying to talk him into doing an Occupy Wall Street, like, drive. And we were in talks to do something with the ACLU or some shit. And we had a phone conversation about it, but that never came to pass. But he'd had my phone number in his phone, gave it to Ben, and out of the blue one day, my phone rang, some Ohio number I didn't recognize. And so I answered it, and I said, hello, and it was Ben, Is this Paul's ego? I was like, yeah, what's up? Who's this? And he's like, oh, this is Ben from the Drunken Pen. I was like, oh, hey, man, what's up? I wasn't a huge fan of the show, but I'd watched a couple of episodes of it, because TJ had pushed it on his channel, and I was a longtime subscriber of his, so I was aware of it. And he asked me if I could come on the show. I was like, sure, man. I told him what time I worked, and what days I had off and all that shit, and we figured out a day that worked, and that was that, you know. And if not for him, you know, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do what I'm doing now. I wouldn't have had the ability to do what I'm doing now. I never would have taken that step in my life, and who knows what I'd be doing, you know. And so I'm thankful to Ben as a business associate and you know, an ex-co-host and all of that stuff for kicking that door open for me and let me walk through it. You know, I'll always you know, have respect for him for that and be thankful for that. So I don't want to neg anything the dude does. Like, there's not bad blood to that fucking extent. I got my personal problems with Ben. He's got his personal problems with me. And, you know, 99.999% of that or more is in the past, as far as I'm concerned. Like, so why would I want to neg the dude? How did I get on Vosh's stream? TJ went on there, and he got along with Vosh really well. And apparently, after they were done talking, he hit Vosh up and recommended that he have a talk with me. He thought it would be interesting. And then Vosh reached out to me via DM and booked me on the show. I never got into DP, just bored me for some reason. It was an instant fan of DFF, though. It's a great combo. I'm glad you like the show. And yeah, not every show is for everybody, and that's cool, you know. There's nothing wrong with taste, different tastes, different interests. Paul, what do you think of the idea that children owe their parents everything because they gave birth to them? That's horseshit. In fact, your parents owe you everything because they gave birth to you. It was them that fucking dragged you screaming out of the void of non-existence and decided to make the decision to copulate in an unprotected way that led to you. They decided to let you gestate and come to term, and they decided to fucking raise you. So they owe you every fucking thing. And that's just the truth. Now, look, when you get older and your parents are even older, I do think that there is some impetus. If your parents were decent to you, at the very least, for you to try and help them out in their twilight years and shit. I do think it's kind of shitty that people fucking just leave their parents and don't do anything for them as they get old. You know what I mean? Don't check in on them. Don't fucking, you know what I mean? That kind of sucks. I don't know that you owe it to them, but it's kind of the right thing to do, right? As you get older, your parents get older. Now, if your parents were total fuckheads to you, then that changes the whole script, right? If your parents were total, like, they molested you, or they were totally physically abusive to you, or some combination, or some horrible, if they were horrible to you, and you got away from them, you don't owe them shit. You know what I mean? It's like me and my dad don't talk, right? Here's where I stand on it. Me and my dad don't talk. It's not out of any... I don't even really know why, to be honest with you. Well, I do. It's because we just don't get along. He's never approved of how I lived my life. He had this kind of like trajectory for me in his mind. And because I didn't follow that, everything I do is a fucking joke. And I'm 40, you know, and at the time I cut my dad off, I was in my mid-30s. And it's like, at some point in your adult life, just having somebody that dumps on you at the worst times in your life, you know, you got to make that fucking decision. But that aside, The fact that he and I don't speak, I'm doing fine without him. He seems to be doing fine without me. I still get news about him from time to time. My mom and he are divorced, but she, they have mutual children together. My sister still talks to him. I find out through the grapevine he's still alive and shit. And I'm sure he gets the same kind of drips and drabs about me, but we're not in each other's lives anymore. We don't talk. But if he called me today and he needed something from me that I could give, I would do it. If he called me today and he was like, son, I need you to come pick me up. I need help. I need you to send me some money. I need you to whatever. I would do it. Not in perpetuity. I wouldn't become some kind of fucking ATM machine for him. I don't think I owe him that. But the dude busted his fucking hands and body and back raising me, working a hard job. And that's worth something. I'm sorry. Like, even if as adult men we decide that we don't talk or whatever, to me it's worth, at the very least, picking up the phone and hearing what he has to say. And if he needs my help, being there if I can. I figure it's the least I can do. Because once again, like I said, your parents really do owe you everything. It was them that brought you here. But as you get older and as you have the means, I do think it's the right thing to do to try and take care of your parents if you can. That is, once again, assuming that they weren't really, really horrible to you. Paul, I just watched your Solidarity video. It's honestly so well presented. Well, I appreciate that. There's a couple of streams. If you liked that one, there's one that I did right after it called Solidarity and Art that I kind of refined the position a little bit more. It's a little shorter one, but... and then, of course, there's the big kind of TJ versus Paul argument in which a lot of unionization got talked, and then a little bit of it on the Vosh stream, and a lot of it here on Highdeology on streams that I can't remember. But there's a lot of that thought sprinkled around here, and it's a topic that we often delve into. Haven't recently. The post kind of election kind of malaise has led me down different paths of thinking, thank goodness. And I've kind of taken a step back from being immersed in politics and starting to try and, re-explore old ideas and old facets of my philosophy. I've been on a very natural kick lately, and I'm thinking one that's going to last. I've derived a lot of personal peace and happiness from nature in the last year or so, and it's something that I had all but forgotten for many, many years. And so I've been on a very anarcho-primitivist return to monkey kick, which is, I think, what you guys are going to hear from me from here on out, honestly. I'll continue to support union movements as I can, but the truth be told, I don't have the reach. I put the ideas out there. I'll talk to anybody that wants to about it, but as far as me just constantly beating the unionization drum, it's just, I can't do it. You know what I mean? I've put my ideas out there. I have a limited scope in what I'm capable of doing. Blue Noble, I will read your super chat when I get back. I promise. I have to pee really bad. It's up there. I'll see it. Oh, that there's a smoky fire. Vape signals. Yeah. Shit. All right, now I've got to scroll back because I promised the Blue Noble that I would read his... Okay, there it is. How'd you like that story in India about 200 million workers collectively bargaining? Really think that even with a quarter of that number in the U.S. has changed? Yeah. No, I mean, it goes to show the naysayers, because there's a lot of people going like, you know, this whole union movement thing, yeah, I mean, it's a good idea and stuff, but, you know, like, you're never going to get that many people. And it's just like, but they can do it in India, though. They can get 200 to 250 million estimated people to walk out in India, but we can't get a third of that here. Bullshit. So it's doable. It's just a matter of getting past the mindset that people have against unions, whether that be rooted in, you know, wariness of unions due to their seedy reputation as outlets and launderers for the mob, which, by the way, they were, and in some cases continue to be, I'm sure. Or whether it be just kind of the propaganda that's constantly put out into the world, trying to get workers to believe that for some reason they're better off letting the company decide what their benefits should be than coming together and deciding what their benefits should be. You know, or some combination of the two. There's a big stigma against unionization, both on the left and on the right. I think there's a lot of this like kind of assumption that the left, by and large, supports unionization. That's just not the case. There are a lot of people on the left that don't like unions, that think that they're a bad influence. And in fact, I think that certain aspects of the existent unions have to be tempered, to be honest with you. The teachers' unions in particular, where, you know, teachers that are really bad at their jobs are allowed to keep their jobs and just trade it around schools because they have tenure. You know, there are children's lives involved. You know, it's not just fuck around stuff. You know. Getting high is evil. Getting evil is high. My current job showed us anti-union propaganda as part of the orientation. Yeah, that's very common. Very common. Let's get evil. Okay. Let's get evil. I checked on the Manatee for the first time in years. He's still talking about you, TJ, and DP. That's not shocking. Like, if you listen to any of my teachings, it's just part of the cycle. It's inexorable. Yeah, I don't really care though. I don't want the updates on the Brett Keane or anything that's going on with him. So save them for somebody who gives a shit. Because I don't. What's your outlook for America on 2021? Are we screwed, or will Biden save us? Biden will screw us, save us. Biden's going to save screw us. Biden's going to be just enough status quo for people to go back to sleep again. So he's going to save screw us. Or screw save us, I guess, if that's what you prefer. I don't think Biden will win, not trying to be hostile. I genuinely think that. All right, Cynic. Well, I think you're wrong. People weren't hungry enough, and even when they starve, they'll blame each other. Well, yeah, but I mean, at that point, people will look and they'll say, why didn't somebody do something? And what they'll probably come to realize after it's far too late is that they were the somebody, and the something was anything. And that's really the sad kind of truth of the coming collapse, is that a lot of people are going to have some very deep revelations about themselves and their place and what really matters on this planet, but it's going to be far too late. And so those revelations will either not come at all for some people and come in the form of anger or rage, or they will be meaningless revelations because those people will die anyway. And that's kind of the sad truth about humanity, is that we don't learn until something horrible has happened to us. It takes a World War II for us to know what the rise of a Hitler looks like. It takes a 9/11 for us to know that our national security apparatus is outdated. Even though the writing is on the wall, right? So why would this be any different? I feel like total collapse will lead to complete fascism. Well, I mean, maybe. Total collapse might lead to there not being anything in place that could be called fascist, because there's just not enough people conglomerated together for there to be fascism. I think a lot of people think that, collapse is going to happen and then some warlord is going to rise up and take over the fucking planet. That might happen temporarily, but if we're talking about a total ecological collapse, then we're talking about a near total extinction of our species. At the very least, a reduction in the number of our species to, way, way, way earlier levels, and a return to a more primitive, localized lifestyle by force. Because there will be no other way to live anymore. The places touched by humanity will be toxic with what we do, and what we've already done to those areas, and what we likely will do in the coming resource wars. And there'll be so very few wild places that it'll be imperative and obvious to anybody who happens to be left, which may be nobody, who knows, But it'll be imperative to anybody who happens to be left that those things be preserved, because there will be no place else on the planet that can be preserved anymore. We caused a rapid climate and ecological shift that's going to cause rapid evolution in the surviving species as a necessity to adapt. I'm waiting for man-eating anteaters and death claws. Oh yeah, dude. The Fallout universe. The quirky apocalypse. Good luck. I think it's going to be more like The Road. The quirky apocalypse, dude. I love people that actually think that. I'm not saying that you do, by the way, guy that made that comment. I'm just saying there are some people that think the quirk apocalypse is coming. Where there's going to be an old guy that wears a coat covered in tin can lids that walks around that looks crazy, but he'll tell you some good ways to make some meat and some bottle caps, you know? Or Mad Max, yeah, that too. People think there's going to be like souped up fucking like four-wheel drives and shit driving around out here. It's like, no, dude. My phone always gets so dusty when I go grab wood the way I do. One-armed. Mel Gibson is going to be the wise old man, yeah. Well, just down the way, you'll find what's left of Colorado Springs, although I wouldn't recommend going in there, friend. There's a lot of bad folk, if you get my drift. There are only a few anteaters left on some remote locations on the Osa Peninsula. Unfortunately, they're distantly related to the Megatherium, though. Yeah, I know. Another species that's slowly but surely disappearing from the planet just due to our obvious human intervention and destruction of their habitat and encroachment on their habitat. What about the ants? Humans don't realize how evil what we do is. There is no such thing as evil, and if there is, it's a synonym of banality. Like evil puts an intent behind it that just isn't there. Human beings are doing what we evolved to do. We evolved to prepare ourselves constantly by accumulating more. We're following that basic instinct to our own death. We have a death urge. We're a species that, despite all our intellect and despite all our accomplishments, can't overcome the basic instinct of accumulate more, propagate more, spread more. And when we get to the point where we're really having genuine conversations about that, it's going to be too fucking late. In fact, it's too late now. And we're not even close to having genuine conversations about it yet, so it's a write-off, man. Sorry. Evolution should not enter the conversation. Well, I mean, I don't necessarily think it shouldn't enter it. Are you under the impression that an ecological collapse will help the environment? By the time nature recovers from humans, humans will also recover and start round two. What do you think about this? It depends, man. I mean, there's a good chance that humanity doesn't recover. We've been close to extinct a couple of times in our natural history before. At one time, we were reduced to some absurd, like, 1,100 breeding pairs, and that was it. So humanity has definitely been in really dire straits before, and likely will be because of this ecological collapse that we're talking about again. How many people survive and what those people believe at the other end of it is really kind of up in the air, isn't it? I mean, I think it's a germane example that a lot of Native American tribes lived in relative homeostasis with the environment for tens of thousands of years, 10, 15,000 years in the case of some of the tribes. They didn't have pollution problems. They weren't spewing so much carbon into the atmosphere that they were fucking damaging the environment. They weren't denuding the places that they lived of all natural resources. They gave back to the best extent that they could what they took. They didn't hunt their buffalo to extinction. They didn't spread and grow so large that they, you know, were completely and utterly fucking destroying everything around them. They died in their 30s and 40s of rotten teeth. Okay. So you're saying that it's worth all of this destruction and all the species that have died for human beings to live another 30 years? Like, why? What's the value judgment that you're making there? So how many more species is it worth so that you can live an extra 30 years of life? And go get your teeth done. Well, you say yes because you're a selfish piece of shit. Well, then you're a selfish piece of shit that is going to continue a mindset that I believe is going to destroy this fucking planet and most of the living things that live on it. I was talking to somebody from NOLA who wants to move because the land he lives on will one day be gone and it's getting too hot. He doesn't think climate change is real, right? That sounds nice, but I don't understand how you can prevent humanity from doing what it did before. It might take time, but humanity seems to always progress technologically until we return to... What? When has humanity ever been at this level of technology before? Like, what other human civilization are you comparing us to? Because I don't... I don't see the analog, dude. Atlantis? All right, get the fuck out of here, bro. Humans genuinely think they're more important than other species. Well, we might say that we don't think that, but clearly as a species we do think that, because we continue to perpetuate all the things that we know that are killing species from this planet at an alarming and accelerating rate, both in the oceans and on land. So the world had heaps of stuff on it, now it's just humans. Well, I mean, now it still has heaps of stuff on it, but the stuff that we need to run the society that we have created for ourselves here is dwindling. And what's left behind is an ever denuded landscape filled with less and less biodiversity. So that's what a dying planet looks like. So let me go ahead and make a very stark statement that I think is completely and utterly, fucking defensible from our position. We live on a dying planet. If you look at dying being the lessening of biodiversity, the planet has done this several times in its history. We've gone through mass die-offs of species. We're in the midst of the 6th. So, to the extent the planet can live, it is dying. its wild places are disappearing. The diversity of species is diminishing. The desertification of once verdant areas has already begun in earnest. The oceans are acidifying. The ice caps are melting. The water levels rising. The storms getting ever more severe. Well, maybe there will be. Like maybe in 80 million years after humanity is just a footnote in the history of this planet, there will be more biodiversity than ever on this planet. But I'm saying for us as a species, it's looking pretty fucking grim, boys. You want to see a coral reef? Well, you better go soon. Unless you want to see the chalky bones of one. There's plenty of that. Paul, what do you still think you are you? Like you are the only Paul and you will one day cease to be? What? I'm the only, yes. Well, I mean, I think from my perceptive ability, I'm the only me. Now, multiverse theory may be true, and there may be, with every little decision that we make, a new multiverse created, as is posited by some adopters of that theory. And so there may be a number of infinite concurrent Pauls, all with slight differences, some on the extreme ends with major differences. But as far as I can perceive, yes, I'm me. I'm the only me. And when I die, I will cease to exist. There will cease to be a me. We got to hang in there for another 1,000 years and we'll be traveling throughout space. Yeah, buddy. Eventually, that's the cultural lie that's at the center of the message of Ishmael. The cultural lie that human beings are one day going to get their shit together and figure out how to live without destroying what they're living on, and then become the Star Trek race and spread to the stars and shit. And that's really like, it's sad, but I would venture to say that probably 90% of people in the Western world believe that. They genuinely believe that eventually some generation is going to come along that's had enough of all these problems, and they're going to fix it, and the technology is going to fix it, and it's a fairy tale. It's literally a cultural myth that we tell one another to justify the damage that we see that we're doing to the land base, and to justify our continued hyper exploitation of everything, because eventually that's going to lead to the singularity, and then we're going to be blah, 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 blah. No, eventually that's going to lead to a completely denuded landscape and ever dwindling resources and war like you've never fucking seen. Maybe we will create AI before we die, and it'll spread through the galaxy and speak of us as the dead gods that created it, but we can't even deal with the radiation in space for more than a year as of now. Yeah. I agree with TJ that if we do explore space, it's more likely going to be from a capitalistic point of view with the intent of gathering resources with the intent to sell. I think we will be lucky to ever reach. I think that is science fiction at this point. Just the Herculean feat of harvesting the Kuiper Belt, which is, the closest asteroid belt to us. It's between us and the moon. Or no, it's just beyond us and the moon. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different belt. There is an asteroid belt that's relatively near the Earth, But just the task of getting to it alone would negate most of the most of the profit you would make, and then the cost of mining it, and then the cost of returning it to Earth. By the time you got it here, you would have paid more to extract it than you would be able to sell it for. Like, that's kind of the problem. It would require like a quantum leap. The Kuipers, okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I started to think about it, and yeah, that's the one that's, you know, on the outside of our solar system. The Van Allen belt, I think that's a radiation belt. Yeah, it is. So it's going to require like a quantum leap in our technology. It's going to require machines that currently don't exist, that are way more powerful than any machine that we've ever built. It's going to require engines that don't exist, that are way more powerful than any engine that we've ever built. It's going to require a massive amount of resources to create these things in order to start harvesting these things. And I don't think we have anywhere near the time as a species going at the clip that we're going now to get there. Not this go around. Right. That's the problem of spaceflight. That's what's keeping us from the Star Trek universe right now, is propulsion. Our propulsion systems are inefficient as fuck. Some absurd amount of the weight of the rockets that we send up off this Earth are just fuel that has to be burned in getting this rocket out of the gravity of the Earth. So we're not even at a point where we can start building spacecraft in space, because getting the materials to build those spacecraft up in space, so we don't have to waste the materials to get the spacecraft into space and make 90% of the spacecraft a fuel tank. Space elevator. Well, I'm all for it, but I'm letting you know that if a space elevator were to fail, it would be capable of fucking destroying a city. So it's kind of a piece of technology that has been theorized but has yet to be proven. And you're forgetting the ever-dwindling resources. Guys, hold on one sec. I'm gonna go get my charger so I can keep talking to you fools, you charlatans, you rubes. All right, time to move operations. Operation move to the other chair has commenced. I'm grabbing the necessities here. All right. I believe Operation Move to the Other Chair has been successful. Sitting in other chair. No, I don't want to stop streaming. I accidentally almost stopped the stream there. That would have been funny. Tee-hee. You're a funny guy, Paul Zago. We Gucci. I'm going to put my hood up, if you don't mind. Try and keep some of this head warmth in. It's a little hard to put your hood up when you have long hair. But I'm going to let that happen. I should probably zip this too, huh? Nah. It'll be fine. Could I pull off double denim? I don't really think anybody pulls off double denim, dude. Dude, I ordered an extension cord. It was supposed to come yesterday, but it's been delayed according to Amazon, and it's supposed to come today. So yes, I should have an extension cord soon. If societal collapse started tomorrow, what are your plans? Societal collapse is already happening, my friend. It doesn't happen like it happens in the movies. It's going to be a slow and methodical unraveling of the way that society works and the safety nets that prevent people from falling through the cracks. More and more people without places to live, without the ability to feed themselves or their children. It doesn't work like that, dude. It's not going to be like The Last of Us or whatever the fuck, where all of a sudden everything goes crazy and like, oh my God, we're going to have a bug out plan. Where are we going? It doesn't work that way, bro. Like, I've been telling people this for years, and people don't seem to be picking up on it very much. But yeah, we've been in the dystopia that we all fear for years and years, decades now. It's just not like we expect it to be. It's not like our cultural narrative has told us it's going to be. It didn't come with big mushroom clouds, and it didn't come with giant tidal waves, and it didn't come with some alien race invading, and it didn't come with some zombie virus or some other bullshit that causes the very fabric of everything to break down immediately. It's slowly but surely unraveling us while we all pretend we're doing better. Just look back at Back to the Future too. They thought we'd have flying cars by 2015, space travel. No, it's science fiction at this point. I own 0 designer clothing. As far as I know. I own a bunch of t-shirts, a bunch of sweatpants, and some scrub, cargo type scrub pants. A bunch of hoodies, and that's about it. That's what I do. That's how I dress. The one species that knows it's going extinct has the power to change it and does nothing. Yep. Well, I don't know if we're the one species. There might be some other species elsewhere in the universe that has mirrored our story or something, but yeah. It's like we have a sense something is wrong and we're going towards death, but we have too much of a wish for death to change. Well, that's what Derek Jensen says, that our culture has a death urge. I've heard other philosophers say that certain aspects of our culture are indicative of a death urge. It's like we lament the loss of all of these beautiful areas, even as we rush headlong towards the loss of even more of them. It's like we know what's causing it now. There's really no controversy about it, even as there is amongst certain people. But really, that controversy is not centered around the truth. It's centered around how much people are willing to sacrifice. And the answer is most people are willing to sacrifice exactly nothing. If there was some mass initiative today to rewild, to move to a different and sustainable way of living, this culture would not voluntarily do it. And I think we all know that. I think we can all fucking safely say that. Whoa, oh, whoa, whoa. Okay, yeah, that's too far. That's perfect, though. This angle, though. Because my freedoms. Because my family needs this stuff. Because my family needs this stuff. Your family. All of you out there can make the sacrifices, but my family will not be sacrificed for because they deserve the best. And that is the attitude on both the left and the right that is killing the planet and that will kill the planet. Everyone else should do something. It's what keeps anything from even getting off the ground. My family can make the sacrifice too. Only I absolutely need to have nice things, right? You don't want me to deprive my children of XYZ. You don't want me to deprive this or that, or certainly that, it's a non-starter, dude. Not a positist, but I believe it's best for humanity to go extinct. I just lament the ecosystems and organisms we've taken with us on the way down. Well, I mean, take heart in the fact that there's been huge reductions in biodiversity on this planet before, and life seems to bounce right the fuck back every goddamn time. I mean, I can't remember what era it was, but there was an era where most of the life on the planet was algae and jellyfish. The land was barren, pretty much any life. There was no creature walking the earth. It was all algae on the ocean and jellyfish underneath it. And, life somehow bounced back from that shit. So it'll bounce back from this too. Whether or not we'll be a part of that or some aspect of us will be a part of that, I don't know. I don't got a lot of hope for that. We're a pretty needy species. Right, well, they're going to be forced by the collapse to learn to do it again, Helmut. Humanity, you're right, doesn't want to live in harmony with nature. We're perfectly capable of doing so, but we don't want to sacrifice the me principle. Because here's the thing. In order for that to even work, there has to be a huge reduction in our population, which means that a ton of people have to voluntarily not breed and deny themselves that urge so that we can return to a smaller group. And so it'll be the same as everything else. Well, yes, everyone else can sacrifice by not having children so that we can reduce the population of this earth to a sustainable level, but I won't. I'm special. I must breed. If I don't breed, then the beautiful, wonderful genius of a child that I surely will create won't be here to help the planet. My Saturn, aka Satan, Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Rio. I'm not. I'm not gonna invoke a demon or whatever. I couldn't make heads or tails of that. But thank you for the protection of the demon. Yeah, I don't know. Was it the lolly lule low? If every mother only had one child, we could cut the population in half every generation. Well, there you go. But see, that would require people sacrificing. I want another one though. Everyone else can have one baby, but I'm gonna see. It's just not gonna happen. The premise one in Derek Jensen's book. Well, it's not premise one, but the first thing he does when he does his end game talk is he asks people, "Do you think that this culture will voluntarily transition to a more sustainable way of living?" And the answer to that, for most people that I ask it to, is no. I think that it'll be forced to do that. I think that there will be a time where we have no choice. But that's different from voluntarily moving to a one-child rule so that we reduce our population. But that would not please economos, you see. The superstructure that holds all of this together. Economos would not be pleased with a reduction in population like that because there would be less consumers to sell things to. Thus, less gross national product would be needed. Thus, there would be a shrinking of the company and not a growing and expansion of the company. We live, when I say we, I mean we in Western culture live under a silly, silly paradigm of endless expansion. When our economy contracts, things go to shit in a way that could destroy the planet. So things have to constantly be bigger. We have to constantly make more, produce more, have more children, and produce more things for them. And as long as we're following that path, we are doomed. Doomed. All of this Star Trek fantasy shit, there's going to be nothing left here to build those ships from, man. We're stripping the planet bare of the elements that we would need to make those things. Yeah, some raw materials can be reclaimed. Some raw materials take thousands of years to grow and enough to be resustained. So, like, if we continue to destroy the rainforest and leave only little patches of it, it will be thousands of years before that rainforest is big enough that we can start sustainably harvesting from it. If we dam up a river to the point where all the indigenous species that live in that river disappear from it, it'll be generations and generations of humanity before those species return, or anything like those species starts to return to those rivers. Well, there are some conspiracy theories that have turned into conspiracy fact. So, like the Gulf of Tonkin incident is one of them. This was a false flag operation that the United States pulled in order to justify escalation of the military conflict in Vietnam, or sorry, Korea. It's been widely reported, widely recorded. It's on the record. We know it happened. Was it Vietnam or was it Korea? It was one of the two. The Bay of Pigs, the Iran Contra conspiracy? Pretty sure it was actually Vietnam. All right. You believe many conspiracies? That's cool. I mean, conspiracy theories can be fun, like as a distraction and stuff. But you can't get too lost in that shit. What do I think of Satanism? What do you think of Satanism? You listen to any of the UFO shit that they're doing on the Joe Rogan podcast? I don't really listen to any other podcasts. I listen to Joe Rogan when he's got somebody on that I think is interesting. No disrespect, it's just I don't. But yeah, conspiracy theories as entertainment, entertaining the idea that some of these things might or could be true, however remote the possibility. It's different from being a person that's like fucking consumed by them, to the point where you're not vaccinating your children or whatever the fuck. You should be on Joe Rogan. Yeah, okay. Well, whatever. Let him know. I don't know what to tell you. Stop smoking cigarettes. I will. Yeah, you let him know. You tell him to book me, and I'll go. Rogan isn't good enough. Okay, well, then help me make Rogan money then. If Rogan isn't good enough for me, then help me make Rogan money. Help me get a call from like fucking Netflix or Disney or something saying they want to purchase my show for like $80 million. Give me that Rogan money. Last Day's Prophet Paul the Doomer Parkey. Yep. Well, I don't think I'm a Last Day's prophet. Don't misconstrue. I gotta go warm my hands a little bit. Give me a sec here. I just got done telling you that the collapse that I believe that we're living through is going to take a profound amount of time to come to fruition in the way that you guys are thinking. And by that time, the population will be reduced by war and famine and disease and more famine. You know what I mean? But it's going to take a long time. It's just going to be a slow erosion of the things that have come to be the pillars of our society. From the upkeep of our roads, to the reliability of our education, to the way that we handle people who are sick or infirm or elderly. All of that is currently eroding and will continue to. And that's that. Paul, what you're saying is happening now on a cultural standpoint. Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, Doctor Who, Western culture is being systematically dismantled. I don't know if any of those things are directly responsible, but culture, like Western culture, has destroyed the fucking planet. And it's not being dismantled, it's expanding. I was talking to a dude from Portugal the other day on Discord. He's a fan of the show, and he was pretty jazzed to be talking to me. And he started kind of telling me some of the things he doesn't agree with me on. And one of the things was, he kind of called me a doomer. And um, and I try to tell him, like, you know, the culture is spreading there. And I asked him, like, what Western food things does he have near him? You know, like what, like, because he was asking me about all kinds of fast food shit, right? And so I asked him, like, what kind of westernized food shit do you have near you? And he named off like half the shit we have here. He's like, oh, we have a McDonald's, we have a Jack in the Box, we have a Taco Bell, I believe, that we just got. We have a Kentucky Fried Chicken, we have a Pizza Hut. We have, you know, and I was just like, because well, anyway, his position was he was of the mind that, you know, America collapsing, or that these other places, you know, their cultures would survive the coming American dominance sweep, and it's already that's already happened. Like, anybody that says that our culture is being dismantled is fucking silly. Our culture is flying our flag over every goddamn country on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not talking about the red, white, and blue striped fucking stars and stripes shit. I'm talking about the golden arches, baby. Our culture is serving our shit food and our shit movies to every fucking eyeball that it can reach. And I'm telling you, there are very few eyeballs on this planet that we can't and don't. And it's that culture that's killing us. Here's a sound of it here. As calming and soothing and familiar as this sound right here can be, this is the sound of our culture destroying the fucking planet. And let me tell you, if you could take all of the noise that's made by the engine of commerce on this planet and put it all in one place at one time, I bet it would liquefy you. It's fucking terrifying. When I get in this mindset, it's terrifying. I hear it still. Planes. The fart of humanity. The fucking fart of humanity, bro. Drums in the deep. Yeah, drums in the deep, bro. Well, at least you'd never sell out, Paul. I hear them. They are coming. Paul is paid by the Illuminati to demotivate us, the public. Yes, you got me. You figured me out. I wear a mask called counterfeit. Paul, you need to visit the rainforest of Costa Rica, and I promise you will hear clearly the sound of this planet millions of years before that. Well, Blue Noble, I would love to, but we're currently experiencing a rampaging pandemic, and I don't believe Costa Rica even wants Americans traveling there. I don't blame them. Can I tell you guys something? Candid. I'm a little bit stoned. I mean, what are you going to do? It is what it is. Yeah, I saw that Dune is going to be on HBO Max. I'm fine with that. I don't care. I'll get HBO Max. It's like $15 a month. I'll cancel my Netflix or whatever. And I'll get HBO Max, and that'll be it. An American mining company got permission to start mining gold, nickel, and copper here in Finland on a nature reserve. There's a price for everything, of course. But of course. Paul, is there anyone you would die for? My family. And that includes anybody who has taken me as family. So the Kirks, their parents who helped nurse me through some of the toughest times of my life, and then my family here, being Amelia, Dinor, and Cricket. Have you ever had parasocial relationships? You would die for Cricket? Fuck yeah, I would. Dude, if somebody tried to get up in Cricket's face or some shit and had like a knife and was like, I'm gonna cut this cat, I'd dive right in front of that knife, take it right in the chest, take it right in the lung for Cricket. No hesitation. He's my bro. Cricket's totally innocent and a totally loving little animal. I feel so high, but when it's over, it's back, and then we have to try and get away again. Oh boy. Man, you're getting too deep, bro. Pralines and dick. Cats kill native birds, though. Cricket doesn't eat any goddamn birds, okay? Cricket doesn't even come outside. Cricket's an inside kitty. He has his whole domain in there, and there ain't a fucking bird within his reach. As soon as you put that shit on Cricket, You put no bird deaths on Cricket. He ain't never heard no birds. He wouldn't even need a little bell on him. He wouldn't chase a fucking bird if he came out here. He wouldn't want to be out here. Did you put that evil on Cricket's name? He's innocent. Yeah. I've looked into his eyes. I can tell a killer. A killer knows the eyes of another killer. Crickety Ricky, yeah. Rickety, crickety, rickety, Rick. Is Dianora a degenerate? No. Dianora's the sweetest little animal ever. He's just a big, goofy, lovable, fucking, I don't even know what. He's like a cartoon character that came to life. He's adorable. He's sweet. Paul, what about the inside birds? There are no inside birds. We don't have any birds inside. And if one of them comes inside, well, and Cricket gets it, it got what was coming to it. It shouldn't have flown in there. But you see, these birds are like unperturbed as fuck. They're out here right now. There's birds like, there's one of them just chilling right there, probably like 10 feet from me. Pecking at the ground and then doing their thing, you know? Bird cam, yeah. They only come out in the morning time. There must be like a lot of little insects that come out once the sun hits their little bush. Like a lot of them nest in the kind of undergrowth over here. And there's a whole little fucking clan of them. We're doomed. Bye, guys.